What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the 1% Club podcast. I'm your host, Sophie.
And I'm Andrew.
And today we have a very special guest. I'm so excited for this episode. We are joined by the Director of Sales of one of the biggest developers in all of Canada, a developer who have completed over 31,000 housing units with a combined value of over $8.3 billion, Graywood Developments. We are joined here by Alan Law. Alan, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course, we're glad to have you on. Alan, could you please briefly introduce yourself to the audience? Tell us how did you get started and how long have you been in the business?
Yeah, I could tell you. I'm Alan, Director of Sales for Graywood Developments. It's how I got started in real estate. How does anyone get started in real estate, really, right? We kind of end up in real estate, right? So, but it's a funny story, actually. I ended up in real estate because both my parents are real estate agents. So it's kind of born into it.
Yeah.
In fact, my dad had his own brokerage, and that's kind of where I got my start and got exposed to real estate as a kid at a very young age. He would have me going around with him, looking in the Pearly maps. You guys are too young. You guys are too young. I don't know what I'm talking about, but the Pearly's maps is like the GPS back then.
Wow.
No, it's a book, actual book with like a leather bound cover.
Yeah.
No, it was a red leather cover. It has like a coil on it, and then you just kind of go. You find the street, and you got to look up where you're going. Yeah. So as a kid, I would help him find streets, driving around, things like that. So that's kind of where I got my start. And as I got older, to keep me out of trouble, he would make me work around his brokerage, and he would put me on some pre-con sites that he's working on. So that's kind of the Coles Notes of how I got started in real estate. There's also a director's cut if you want the extended version of that.
Yeah. So it sounds like maybe your dad was also involved with pre-construction as well.
Yeah, very much so. I think back in the 80s, 90s, he was already working in pre-construction. So that's really all I know. My whole life has been based around pre-construction.
So I know that you guys have a lot of exciting developments now. So could you please give us a brief of what do you guys have in the pipeline?
Yeah, for sure. So as you said, we've already delivered more than 31,000 units over the last 40 years, right? So we have a long history, but we're also one of the most active developers in the GTA. Right now, we have about 6,000 units in various stages of development, with 2,500 units of that coming online very shortly. So we've got several projects around the GTA and in Calgary as well, coming online very soon. Here in the GTA, we've got a project out in Oakville. We've got some low-rise out in Oshawa. We've got a massive plan coming with 3 towers, 1,800 units out in Vaughan at the VMC, right? And at Yonge and St. Clair, we've got a tower coming there as well.
Nice. You also have some low-rise coming at Park and Lakes.
Yes, in Oshawa, that's right. So we've got low-rise coming out there. That's right.
Is that the first low-rise or have you done?
No, we've done low-rise in the past. So we've done towns, we've done detached. We've been doing this for 40 years. Yeah.
Something that's notable with Graywood as well, I think you guys were responsible for the Ritz-Carlton in Toronto.
Yeah. So, one of kind of a preeminent luxury brand trusted us to build their hotel and residence. So that's one of the landmark buildings that we've done. And that's actually a very important point too. When you're choosing a developer, right? When you want to work with a developer, you want to see what they've done in the past, right? Have they delivered product, and what kind of product? Have they done a landmark product? And, if you want to take your clients around to see something we built 20 years ago, something we built 20 days ago, you can do that.
It's a common theme when we talk about pre-construction, especially with experts and developers, that we have to stick with the fundamentals. So one of the things is reputation of the builder.
Yeah.
Obviously, Graywood has that reputation.
And I believe you guys are a fully integrated developer. So you have your in-house construction team.
Yeah. So we're one of the very few developers out there that does everything in-house, all the way from fundraising to land acquisition, development, construction, sales and marketing, and customer care is all done in-house. And you have to be a certain caliber, a certain size of developer in order to do that, because that's a lot of mouths to feed. There's a lot of employees that need to get paid. So you need to have a deep pipeline and a lot of work available.
But if you can talk to the potential consumers, why would they kind of care that if a developer is fully integrated? Because I know for us agents.
Yeah. You know what? It's very simple. It's transparency and really operating with integrity. When you're talking to one of us, you're talking directly to the developer. There's no middleman, right? And it's all about transparency, top to bottom. It's all about communication. I think the most important thing in customer service is communication, and you have that direct line of
Yeah.
communication.
And you guys can keep control of everything. So you don't have
Everything.
to rely on third party.
That's right, right? So not the message doesn't get lost. You're talking directly to the developer.
So you would say that being vertically integrated, it's a more efficient process all the way from sales, marketing to construction.
It does make it a bit easier, right? There's less layers involved. We can control every aspect of the process, right? We control construction process, control the sales process. So it makes it more streamlined.
Yeah. For project pipeline, a lot of projects Graywood has downtown Toronto. Can we maybe speak about the market outlook for Toronto right now and what you're seeing?
Yeah, I could tell you what's happening. I mean, obviously we know 2023 was probably the worst real estate market in the last 20 years, right? It was bad. It sucked. It was painful. But because of that, stemming from that, I think we're at a point in time right now where there's a lot more clarity as to what's going to happen next versus 8 months ago, where we had no idea where these rates were going. If they're going up, they're going down, they're going sideways. We had no idea. But where we are in the market today, we have some clarity as to where we're going, because we're going to be pretty certain right now that the hikes are over, right? Cuts are coming. They're on the horizon. And I think because of that, there's some stability in the market, right? We can see now that the Bank of Canada has overshot with the rate hikes. And I think that's intentional. It's by design, right? Kind of like when COVID hit, they, everything was done with an abundance of caution, right? So you overshoot it. And inflation's under control. So consumer confidence is coming back. And we see that happening in low rise already, right? That's already starting to recover. So obviously the condo market will follow shortly after that. And as we see interest rates start to decline, population growth and demand are still going up. There's no new supply being added to the market. You can guess what the next step is, right? You don't have to be an economist to know, right? Demand is going up, supply is not changing.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? But a very unique opportunity kind of has presented itself in the current market right now, where we see it happening in builder inventory. And what I mean by builder inventory is units or projects that were sold maybe 2-3 years ago. The developers intentionally hold back some units to release at a later date when the building's closer to completion, in hopes of selling at a higher price.
Yes.
So there's several projects that are coming online now in this market where prices have been depressed. So you're going to find some really great deals there right now. In fact, you're looking at getting a brand new condo at a price where you can't even build based on today's construction costs. And you see that happening across the city because of where the market is and where the construction costs are. A lot of newer projects are being held. They're being paused. So like I said, you don't have to be an economist. Demand is going up, but there's no new inventory being added to the market in a year or 2 years from now. What's going to happen? So there's a golden opportunity right now to pick up these types of units.
Absolutely. It seems like it's almost a steal to get it from the developer, something that already exists, you can feel, touch, and get it at a massive discount where, again, the developer can't build out that pricing.
Exactly. You cannot build at the prices that we're selling at right now.
In terms of downtown Toronto specifically, would you say for the next 5-10 years, are we still seeing demand in Toronto itself or just kind of GTA in general?
I would say you never bet against downtown, right? Downtown will always be that blue chip investment. You've heard me say it before. It's going to be the solid bet because, all your major educational institutions are here, all the universities, all the hospitals, all the jobs, everything you need is downtown, right? With all the new immigration coming in, a big portion of those people are going to be settling in downtown because they're going to have access to everything they need. So downtown is going to come back and it's going to come back strong.
Yeah, you guys are big believers in downtown. That's
100%. 100%. It's not just any downtown. Really, we're believers in, city centers and connected communities where you have access to all the amenities that you need, and they already exist. We're not talking proposed amenities, right? All of our sites that we choose, you can see they're in locations where you have amenities that exist. So they're not proposed, not proposed subway, or proposed school, or whatever it might be. It's already there. So when you move in, it's there. There's no guessing.
Exactly. And you mentioned the VMC, so I would really love to talk about VMC.
Yeah.
Why did you guys choose to develop that?
VMC, Vaughan is experiencing massive growth.
Yeah.
And having the only TTC subway stop north of Highway 7, right there, that's stop 1 on line 1. you're connected to the entire city and you can see the growth that's happening there. So there's huge potential there. And if you go up there, I mean, sure you guys have been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I believe it's the only subway station outside Toronto.
Yes.
And they chose Vaughan. I don't know why
That's
they
right.
chose Mississauga. I love Mississauga, so
It's who wants to pay for it. That's basically it.
that's true. And there's a lot of projects coming to that intersection in Vaughan, so I think
That's
made sense to.
It's a new hub, right?
Oh,
It's a
that's
new hub for transit. It's a new hub for employment. It's a new hub for education. Because from the VMC, from that line one stop, you're only 2 stops at York University. It's a 5-minute subway ride.
Yeah,
So everything you need is already there.
yeah.
So let's talk about Alan now. So obviously with real estate agents, realtors, developers, everyone's really, in the work. But like, what do you do outside of real estate?
I really don't have much of a life outside real estate. No,
That's
no,
all of
no.
us.
Yeah, right. And it
That's what-
engulfs us, right? It completely engulfs us. I could probably, give you a bit of the director's cut of how I ended up in real estate too. So I kind of give you the short form where, my dad had the brokerage and I ended up in there. But my dad had actually passed away, and that's how I took over his brokerage. Actually, his whole life had tried to keep me out of real estate. He would say, you know what, go to university, get a real job. Don't go to real estate. And that's what I did, right? I went to university, I worked in finance, and then he passed away with cancer. And then I kind of got thrown into it. World was flipped upside down, took over his brokerage. And that's how I actually got started in real estate, by taking over his projects and taking over his brokerage. And then, shortly after that, I was working in that for a while. And let me tell you, it was tough. It wasn't easy. It was hard to run a brokerage. And, I'm sure people watching here, they see, Instagram brokers going on trips, fancy dinners and all that. It's not all that, right? It's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. You see all the fun stuff on Instagram, but a lot of the hard work you don't actually see. And especially in 2023, I think there's more tears than anything. But, but yeah, so as I was doing that for a bit, then I actually ended up running an expedition travel company. I had an opportunity to go into expedition travel. I invested in the company, and then I ran that for several years. It went well, and COVID hit, right? COVID hit, international travel got shut down. So again, my world was flipped upside down one more time. But you know me, I can't sit still. So I immediately went back into real estate, and here we are.
Wow, I could definitely see you as like the travel guy. You seem like a very worldly person.
Thanks.
And also you mentioned that I believe because I'm one of the few developers who got into the Calgary market.
Yep.
When did you guys start building in Calgary?
We started in Calgary probably about 10 years ago. So we've been there for quite a while. We're very well experienced in Calgary.
Okay.
I think it was like townhome project.
Yeah, so we've got some high rise, we've got some towns, we've got some mid-rise buildings out there as well. About 10 years ago, we got in there. We have a master plan happening right now. It's under construction. It's called Fish Creek Exchange in Metroside. That's a project currently ongoing right now. We've completed Theodore. First and Park is under construction. We have I think maybe just about 1 unit left. I think we have 1 penthouse left there. So it's a beautiful unit. Please look at it. But yeah, the Calgary market is quite unique. It's been very interesting to be able to work in the Calgary market, especially with the current market that we're in here in Toronto. It's kind of bizarre because, as interest rates were climbing up, I guess across the country, the Calgary prices were going up
That's
with
the
it.
thing. That's the thing. It didn't make sense.
Yeah, it didn't make sense. So then now people are jumping on even harder because now they know the rate hikes are done and rate cuts are on the horizon. So now you're jumping even harder to get into Calgary because it just makes sense. It's a very unique market. It's very different from Toronto. It is I like to compare it to Dubai. Let's say Alberta. If you look at Dubai, let's say 15, 20 years ago, it was just a desert, right? There's not much there. They had oil. They had a lot of money. And what they did was they realized that eventually oil is going to run out. The reliance on oil is going to run out. So they invested into different areas. They invested into different infrastructure. They invested in tech, healthcare, tourism, building up their economy to where it is today. And Alberta has kind of taken that same formula. Their reliance on oil in the past has caused the market, to really fluctuate too much. There's no stability. So they've taken that money and they've done the same thing, invested into different areas, invested in businesses, invested in tourism, in agriculture, in tech, bringing big companies in, right? Amazon, they're building a massive distribution center out near Calgary. I think it's a $3 billion investment, right? Infosys, one of the world's largest IT companies, they're opening a headquarters right in Calgary. So they're doing a lot to attract businesses to come in. And because of the affordability out there, a lot of young people are moving there. They also have the lowest tax rate, which means you're going to have the youngest workforce with the highest average after-tax income working there. So that is a formula for growth. They're going to start spending. They're going to start investing. That's why the market keeps up.
So with the Calgary market, the reason that, it's a lower entry price point, but also they have higher average incomes per household, have more disposable income. So we've seen a lot of growth in the last couple of years there. Do you see that same trajectory for Calgary, like for the future?
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of turning the clock back on Toronto 10 years ago, right? There's an opportunity there because, not only new immigrants are going there because of the affordability, there's a lot of interprovincial migration. People are moving out of more expensive cities and going there because they can still find high paying jobs, but their cost of living is much lower.
Yes. And I'm sure you've been to Calgary as well.
Oh, absolutely.
What's your favorite part about it?
It's a very unique city. I kind of like, downtown is pretty cool during the day. It's kind of a little bit off at night, actually. So the suburbs are really nice. There's got a lot of green space, a lot of parks. In fact, our site, Metro site, is on the second largest urban national park in Canada. It's Fish Creek Exchange, 3,300 acres. Unique thing about Calgary too is we find that many local Calgarians don't really like to live downtown. They like to live a little bit outside of downtown. They want to still be connected, so they want to have access to the C train. The C train's the LRT, or there's not a subway; it's above ground, but that's a train that kind of gets you around. They want to be on the C train so they can get downtown and go to work. But once work is done, they want to get out. And if you guys have been there, you guys should check it out. It's a strange phenomenon. After like 5 o'clock, everyone leaves downtown. There's nothing there. Yeah. It gets dead after 5. So we're finding that's why where we've been developing, it's kind of a little bit outside downtown, not right in the core, because suburb. Yeah. Well, we have stuff kind of a little bit more out in the suburbs, and then we have developments kind of like in the Yorkville of Calgary, or in kind of like the Leslieville, Calgary, but not right in the core because nobody really wants to be there.
Right. And if we can go back to downtown Toronto, because I know you guys have a lot of sites. I feel like you guys have been focusing kind of in east of Yonge. You guys have a lot of projects on the Church Corridor.
Yeah.
So why is that? Do you guys see the future that it's in East Yonge because the West is already established?
Yeah. So we're big believers in downtown East. So we've got a couple of projects right on the Church Corridor. We've got Wonder Condos in Leslieville as well. So we're
good condos in this.
That's right. Good at Distillery. So we're big believers in Toronto East because there's a value proposition there. Once you go sort of west of Yonge, west of Bay, the price points have, already increased quite significantly. And with all the revitalization happening on the east side, if you look at what's happening in the Portlands, what's happening at East Harbor, there's a lot of growth that is happening right now in downtown East.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And developers are able to get into the actual land cheaper, right?
That's right. And so you got to think what it's going to look like 4, 5, 6 years from now.
Yeah, we have the Portlands, East Harbor, over I think 20,000 jobs coming, and they're gonna have the biggest transit hub.
Yeah, and that's right across the street from Wonder Condos. So you can actually see the development outside your window.
Yeah.
So anybody who got in there, 2-3 years ago when we initially launched it, they're laughing at it. And then once that's all going to be complete, it's going to look completely different.
Yeah.
And if we look outside here, we're here at 241 Church, you can see all the changes happening right now. This intersection at Church and Dundas, every single corner is already being developed, right? So in the next 3-4 years, you're going to notice a significant change in.
Yeah, there is a lot of new high rises coming up just around this corner.
Right here. Yeah.
But obviously, since this is close to TMU, right? Mainly it's going to be, if you're an investor, mainly you're going to be renting to students, right?
That's right. And
what do you think about encourage to steal that.
I think that's a phenomenal opportunity because, there is a severe shortage of student housing. So you're going to have a guaranteed tenant base right outside your doorstep. There's 46,000 students at TMU with only, I think it was 1,500 beds available, right? So think about that, right? And that's just TMU. U of T is a 10-minute walk from here. You got George Brown, maybe about 10-minute walk that way, and then OCAD, another 15-minute walk.
Yeah.
You have all of that combined.
So students will have to rent from these condos.
Absolutely, right? And it's not just restricted to students because of where we're located right here at Church and Dundas. It's a center of the city. If you go on Google Maps, look up downtown Toronto, you're going to get Young Dundas Square. And that's a 2-minute walk from here. So from here, you have access to the path. It's a 2-minute walk. You're in the path. Now you're connected to the entire downtown financial district, the hospital network. So you're going to have young professionals. You're going to have medical professionals. You're going to have students. You're going to have faculty from the universities that are going to want to be living here as well. So you have a very broad and diverse tenant base.
Yeah. So we have a lot of investors asking us, like, what's the best deal now in the market? So in your opinion,
Best deal. Yeah, no, what we talked about earlier, it's the inventory units are coming online. Like I said, these were units intentionally held back by a developer with the intent to sell at a higher price as the building completes. But we're at a point where the prices, we're facing a correction, facing an adjustment, right? But we still have to sell them. So you're finding great deals right now, brand new units at prices that we can't even build at. And, kind of the great thing is, I mentioned this earlier, I think, is, we've been so focused on short-term price fluctuations and interest rates that we've lost sight of the fact that real estate historically has been a long-term appreciating asset. And where we are right now with these, lowered, depressed prices, it's only a moment in time, right? This is only this moment. And we know what's happening.
Yeah. And also buyers in some cases, they get to see the unit.
Absolutely.
So
they're completed. If you guys want to come see any units, let me know. We take you walk through. You can touch it, feel it, see it.
Exactly. So that's kind of with the resale. You also get the benefit that it's a brand new unit.
Brand new unit, full Tarion warranty. No one's lived in it. Can't beat that.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it's also really important to note that with the last few years, even though we've seen a lot of price fluctuations, that was more so on the low rise, and the condos have actually been stable.
Been fairly stable. You're right. Exactly.
Like long term, I think if you get a great unit with a great developer, they can actually see the quality of the finishes.
It's all of that. You got to find the right location, number one, and you got to make sure you have the right developer who's actually delivering a product that's got to stand the test of time, right? That's going to retain value going forward. And being in locations like downtown Toronto or in transit connected nodes is going to guarantee you that you're going to get that stability. You're going to see bigger price fluctuations in, the sort of the outer GTA where it's not quite stable, for lack of a better word, than being in the core.
I guess it's because everyone's kind of comparing outside prices to Toronto.
Right. That's it. The Toronto is always the benchmark, right? If you look at any project that's selling any kind of pitch, any project outside of the city, the first thing they say is their connectivity to downtown and how many minutes it takes you to get there. That's the benchmark.
I love how on the hero renderings as well, they'll put the CN Tower.
Yeah, right.
Wherever you are.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the benchmark. Is how far are you from downtown? That is. So why not just be there?
Yeah, so a lot of people ask us, who are buying these condos these days? Like you see a lot of people telling me, oh, no one can afford Toronto prices or GTA prices. So from your end, who are you saying are buying these condos?
You know what? It's still anyone and everyone. I mean, even though we talk about how bad 2023 was, deals were still being done, right? Deals are still being done. You just have to find them. And it was anyone and everyone. They're still buying. I've seen lately, I would say in the last 2 months, really an uptick of end users. Right? Not so much the investors, but the end users. But like I said, because they're spotting an opportunity right now in units that we're releasing that have to be sold, right? The investors are still a little bit shy, but they're going to be coming back in no time because right now we have clarity on what's happening in the market going forward.
So the mindset of the people who are end users who are looking to actually move in, they're saying to themselves, well, I've already settled for Toronto, but I don't want to pay rent because rent's quite a bit. So that's why they're looking at the units.
Yeah. We've got downsizers. We've got first-time home buyers, people who are, I don't want to say immune to price fluctuations, but less sensitive because their vision is long-term. They're not speculators, right? Speculators are in a bit of trouble. But like I said, real estate is a long-term appreciating asset, and that's the way you should look at it. So the end users, with that longer time frame in mind, they're buying.
I mean, I think to go back to your question about affordability, for my first property, I was making like less than minimum wage because I worked for my parents. And I saved for probably over 10 years and bought my first condo that way. So for people out there with professional jobs making, even 6 figures or even like 90K plus, right?
Yeah.
Or 70K plus, I think people can still save up for a 1-bedroom condo.
Yeah, it's still doable, and also that's why we're seeing that what's happening in Calgary too. Because like what's happening in Toronto, you could be making good money, but it's still very difficult to get into the market. That's why people are buying in Calgary. We're also seeing purchasers who buy in Calgary, but they're continuing to rent here in Toronto. They're going to rent here, they're investing there, letting that money grow, and eventually pulling out the equity. Then they're going to come back here and buy something.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you, so some people, since you work on the developer side, a lot of people ask us why these developers are turning these prices, why they don't lower their prices. And we explain to them that it's not in their control.
It's not.
If they lower the prices, otherwise they're not going to make profit. Hence, why make the project?
They won't get built. Exactly. There's minimum numbers that need to be met, and it's not big. We're talking maybe like 15% or whatever, maybe. Most of the costs comes down to the cost of the land, comes down to the government fees and all that. So the developers, they're always increasing. So it's almost impossible to see construction like these prices come down for us to sell something.
Yeah. I think it is important to note that the government wants a chunk of that pie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, they're the ones that are saying, oh, we're going to invest in housing and all that, but it's not really helping because there's such a big red tape with construction. And then also they're charging a huge amount to the developers, which they pass down to the buyers.
That's right. So then if the numbers aren't met, we just don't build. If we don't build, no supply.
But the thing is, the public, exactly, the public don't see these development charges and these extra fees that the developer has to pay the city. Right?
That's right. There's a lot of investment that has to go in to build a condo.
Yeah. And also talk about getting permits. It takes forever.
It takes a long time. You're talking, from acquisition of land to the time the building is done, probably 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
I think that's a problem we're facing right now where, everything that was planned 8 to 10 years ago didn't account for COVID. It didn't account for the sudden influx of immigration, right? So we planned, 8 to 10 years ago, how much housing needs to come to the market 10 years from now. But then all of a sudden you throw 1.2 million new people into that mix.
Yeah.
What happens? Right?
Yeah. Lots of demand, but less supply. And then even with the pre-construction sales volume having gone down, or like half.
That's right.
Would you say like over the next 4 or 5 years, there's going to be less supply because
Absolutely. And we talked about it earlier where, a lot of this stuff has been paused, right? To wait for the market to kind of come back. Because why go when you can't sell for a price that you can build it at? So that's going to have a ripple effect down the line.
Do you find that in Calgary it's easier to get permits or faster?
It is quicker. Yeah, definitely. I think the Alberta provincial government they're more friendly.
Yeah, developers.
That's right.
Maybe it's a little bit off topic, but like I want to ask about diversifying your investment portfolio. So, like as Adam, do you believe in investing in other stuff other than real estate?
I do. I do believe in investing. You want to have your mutual funds or equities and all that. But it's funny you bring this up because I talked to a lot of investment advisors, wealth managers, financial planners, and a very interesting fact they always bring up is the fact that having real estate in your portfolio is probably one of the most important things. And that's because if you're planning for retirement, you want to have enough money to finance your retirement. So if you own your home, you can always downsize to free up some capital to fund your retirement. If you own an investment property, you can always sell that to fund your retirement. So having real estate as part of that portfolio is important because that allows you the flexibility to fund what you want to do in retirement. But yes, diversifying, of course, but I think real estate still is the most important piece of that puzzle.
100%. For myself, I'm 100% into real estate.
Yeah.
Put my money elsewhere.
Yeah. I mean,
believer.
Even for myself, when I'm investing, even my own primary residence, I've never bought anything other than pre-con my whole life.
Really?
Yeah. For my first condo, it's just like every couple of years, it just makes sense to pick up pre-con because it gives you time, right? You're putting smaller amounts in while the value's going up, and then, hey, value's gone up, sell that, take some equity out, move on to the next one.
It just makes it easier for everyone to get into the market. Now I have a lot of my buyers because I went to Ryerson, which is team.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of my now buyers, it's people who went to Ryerson with me. So now they graduated, now they're finding jobs. So they've been working 1-2 years. So they saved up about 20,000-30,000. And so they're using that for their first deposit with the pre-construction.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if they want to buy resale, they have to come up with
like
10-20% up front.
Exactly.
Plus cost of cost, which is not doable. With pre-construction, you only have to put down 5% the first 3 to 6 months. They already have that. And then
they have good jobs.
They're paying the other deposits.
That's why it makes sense when you got a couple of years to break down those payments where you can make the first one and then you're still working, you're making that money, you're putting aside, and the next payment comes to pay the next one. And meanwhile, the entire value of your investment is appreciating.
Exactly. As a Graywood, have they thought about selling outside GTA and Calgary?
I mean, we're always looking at new sites, but we have to stick to our principles of, transit connected communities where amenities already exist, right? Because those are the biggest growth. Those are the biggest growth opportunities where things are already there.
It's not easy to find these sites.
No, it's not. It's not. But we're very careful. We're very careful. We're on to Fund 10 right now. That's our 10th fund. We're raising about $200 million to acquire new sites. Yeah.
Where do you go these fund providers come from?
Oh, so our investors are basically high net worth investors. We've got banks, we've got mutual funds, we've got pension funds, really, big players. And that's actually a good question. And that's so, your purchasers know where our funding is coming from. It's not overseas money that can get turned off at any moment. These are big corporations. These are mutual fund companies. These are banks. So they've done their due diligence and they don't like risk, which is why they choose to invest with Graywood.
Yeah. Speaking of big developers, right? So as you know, like we're hearing now that some projects that are getting canceled. So how can someone as a consumer or buyer avoid that?
Or mitigate it as much?
Yeah.
Really do your research, right? Do your research, know who the developer is. If you're looking at a deal that looks like it's too good to be true, question it, right? Like super extended deposits, super low pricing. Can they get construction financing? You got to question it. I mean, they can tell you a story, say, "Oh, we have lots of money, we'll do it ourselves." Really? Like,
yeah.
Which you want? I'm sure you can, but it doesn't make business sense to use your own money when you can get financing. So really, it's ask the questions. Don't be afraid to question everything.
Yeah. So I'll ask you, where would you invest right now, personally?
Right now, I mean, I've been a big proponent of units that are ready to go right now from the developer. I would say Peter and Adelaide. Peter and Adelaide are a project right in the heart of the entertainment financial district. I'm actually already invested there, but I would do it again because we have great opportunity there. The location is phenomenal. And you can see right now, a block away from us, not to mention the name, new project just launched and they're over $2,000 a square foot. And I can get you in Peter and Adelaide for $1,300. That's $700 a square foot that you're locking in today.
Yeah.
So why would you?
That's crazy. But the other thing is buyers will have to close now, right?
Yeah. So here's an argument too. I know obviously, people will be like, yeah, but if I buy now, I have to close now. I'm going to pay a higher mortgage rate. When the rates come down, prices are going to go up. So it's kind of a wash. What if I told you there's an opportunity that we can get you a discounted price at a low interest rate, a Goldilocks opportunity? Do you think that's something your buyers be interested in?
That's not the deal right now.
I think that's a no-brainer.
Do it.
So
because that's the main concern for buyers now.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know when this is going to air, but world premiere right now. I was going to announce it tonight. We're doing a fixed 3.49% 3-year fixed rate for our last unit at Peter and Adelaide.
Oh, wow. You've already got it secure from a bank.
That's right. So you would get the mortgage through BMO. So we're partnered with BMO on this one. So it's not a vendor take back. It's an actual mortgage through the bank. And you know what? It's not just the savings between the posted rate and the 3.49, but also for any investor or first time buyer who's on the margins of getting approved. They may not get approved at posted rate, but they can get approved at 3.49. So there's their opportunity to get in the market today when prices are low.
Wow. For how many years is that?
3 years.
For 3 years.
3 years fixed, 3.49%.
And up to 3 years, most likely interest rate.
Exactly. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah. That's a really good deal.
It is a good deal. Because we have one unit left there. It's our last penthouse unit. It's a 52nd floor, north facing, unobstructed, beautiful. Yeah. We're a block away. They're selling at $2,000. And then you've got the other building, the other famous building that's selling for over $2,000.
Yeah. When is the final closing?
We can do 30, 60 days. Yeah. Because the building is actually closing right now as we speak. The units are in the house right now. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned BMO. I think you guys are doing a lot of seminars with BMO.
Yeah. We have one tonight.
Yeah. How about tonight?
Yeah. Tonight, we're doing a seminar with a senior economist and vice president at BMO. Really just give a market update, kind of what we chatted about here today, but we want to hear from BMO, from the experts. And also we're unveiling our 3.49% interest program.
Okay. Yeah.
So you guys heard it here first.
Part of your title is agent relations. So you work with a lot of brokers, broker records, agents.
That's right.
Do you have any advice for the agents out there that are maybe having a tough time right now?
Yeah, it is 2023 was definitely one of the toughest years on record. It wasn't easy to get through that, but the important thing is, keep looking ahead, right? Like we were talking about today on the pod, where we know what's coming, right? We know there's going to be greener pastures coming up. And I guess to quote Rocky, right? It's not about how hard you can hit. It's how hard you can take a hit and keep moving forward.
That's true.
It makes a lot of sense, right? You just got to keep moving forward. And even like, as I was telling you guys, like my career progression, I've taken a lot of hits, but you got to keep going. Keep going. Don't stop.
It's the consistency.
Yeah.
What's the most common mistakes we see realtors do, especially in pre-construction, in your opinion?
Not doing their homework.
Yeah.
Not doing the research on the project before bringing the client in, not connecting with the sales team before bringing their client in. And I always emphasize that with newer agents. Say, hey, look, you're interested in a project, call us first. We'll brief you on it. We'll talk about it. And then so you're well-versed on it. So when you come in, we work together and provide the information to your client, right? Don't just come in here and just toss your client over to one of our sales reps, because that's not going to work, because we don't know what your client's thinking. We need to communicate. Like, what are the needs? Do they want a 1-bedroom? Do they want a 3-bedroom? What's their budget? Do they need parking? Do they not need parking? Get that information. We have the discussion. We narrow the conversation, find the right product for your client, and your closing success rate, it's going to be much higher.
Yeah. And it makes your life easier.
It makes everyone's life easier. It makes the client's life easier. It doesn't confuse them, right? And the likelihood of you closing that deal is going to be way higher.
And it's less of a sales process, more of a consult.
Right. Exactly. There's no hard selling. There's no trying to like discover what they want. You've already done the homework, and we just come and say, here are the options. What are your questions?
So something that we like to ask our guests kind of at the end of the show, where do you see yourself in 5 years, like your vision, personal business?
It's a very deep question. I haven't put too much thought into it, but I really see myself, I'd probably like to get more involved with the real estate industry at a level where, I can be an advocate, be a voice for the pre-construction industry. Like, as I mentioned to you guys earlier, that's all I've done my whole life is being pre-construction. So to be more of a voice, for example, maybe be on the board at TREB to represent developers, because I feel like at that level, it's a bit underrepresented right now.
And it's sort of an unknown beast to a lot of agents.
That's right. Really advocate for it and let agents know, let consumers know how this process works and what pre-construction is all about.
Thank you so much for coming on our show.
We truly appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, had a good time.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you tune into the next episode.